The pastor to Karmelo, and he's saying if the boy was smart, he could have just ran.
If this kid was sitting down, what? Even if he said he wasn't gonna move, he wasn't a smart kid.
Right.
Cause I wouldn't let him stand over me. See, if he was a smart kid, he could have got up and ran. See, if he was a smart kid, he could have got up and ran before they came up on him and tried to force him to move.
Right.
This is some very interesting insight from Karmelo Anthony's pastor about racism, the jury system, how black people should be judged. This is so interesting. I tell you, for all the people that think that blacks and whites, or at least blacks, are incompatible with the justice system here in America, this guy is really making the case.
Saying that he was under a tent that didn't belong to him.
Right.
You got to look at all the facts around the situation. Right. Don't just judge the situation because of your skin color. He was there. Any human, anybody that got a heart, any Christian, everybody call themselves a Christian, see that it's raining, and you're going to tell a boy to get out from under our tent and get in the rain. First of all, you 17, I'm 17. Let's say it was a black kid. Let's take the white kid out of it. Another black kid tell another black kid to get it from under the rain. That's going to be a problem. First of all, you some 17. You know, you think you are. Now, let's flip it.
Who tent? What?
It was a tent, I believe, that Austin them school was over it. It's their tent.
Was he involved in Austin them school? Or
no, he wasn't involved.
So
and so right here, 607 Unc is basically asking questions I think he knows the answers to tease it out of him. Like, hey, man, don't you have the right to ask someone if they're under your tent, to not be up under your tent? The pastor is disagreeing. Here's the interesting part where the pastor is going to be talking about the jury. Again, this is the same pastor that could have been called as a character witness for Karmelo Anthony.
Look at it, well, it could be a chance that Karmelo hit first and maybe made Austin touch out. Or Anthony could have educated, and he's talking about, look at the case. No, brother, look at this. You never brought up the fact. See, people that's honest, they measure the situation. They say, well, Anthony could have got up and left. They said, well, Karmelo could have got up and left. Or Anthony could have left him alone and went got some authority. They'll look at it, well, it could be a chance that Karmelo hit first and maybe made Austin touch him. Or they could say maybe he was sitting down and Austin could have not got over him. If I was in a situation and somebody big standing over me, I'm gonna look for something and grab something. They would try to measure it out. But when people don't try to measure it out, they try to focus on one main thing. He was under the tent. He murdered him. He was talking.
He's ignoring that he was under the tent and asked to leave.
15 times. These are people who got their mind made up, regardless of what you say.
Right.
They're drawing a picture to keep you from looking at reality. Right. Anybody that's far, it go for me too. You'll say, now, if this kid was sitting down, what? Even if he said he wasn't gonna move, he wasn't a smart kid.
Right.
Cause I wouldn't let him stand over me. See, if he was a smart kid, he could have got up and ran before.
You hear that? This is the pastor to Karmelo, and he's saying if the boy was smart, he could have just ran.
Me. See, if he was a smart kid, he could have got up and ran before they came up on him and tried to force him to move.
Right.
But if he's sitting down, he ain't got a chance nothing to get up and do too much because he sat down. They said they pulled his hoodie. You see what I'm saying? So if he was a smart kid, he should have stood up. When he had confrontation with them, he shouldn't have been still sitting down.
We get that, right? And just
standing up would have allowed him the ability to take off and run. The reason why he didn't stand up and leave is because he knew he had an equalizer, and that was the knife.
Don't end, more on racism. What do you think the cure that can help the racism?
This is going to be very interesting. You heard the pastor say, I like this question, because this gives him the opportunity to reshape America in a way that he sees is best suited for black people.
In Texas and abroad.
I like this. I think that because there's no fairness and man is flawless, man will make mistakes, man will get in their emotion.
Right.
I think that when we are judging anybody that's on trial or anything, I think that it should be a law that you balance out the jury. I think it should be, it's enough people. You can find 6 blacks, 6 Mexicans, 6 white, whatever, or you can get 4.
Right. You think just because of the...
I'm talking about the justice system.
I get what you're saying, but you think just because...
And so you notice that he's saying 4. So 4 blacks, 4 whites, 4 Hispanics. Again, that alludes to the white person's representation on the jury and overstates the blacks, because in many of these counties, almost in very few places in America, are blacks 33% of the population, only 12% of the population. It would also give the Hispanics what is a third to the Hispanics. But what about all the other groups? In some areas, they're going to have a higher number of lawyers. It goes up and down depending on where they're located. And here is the pastor, Karmelo's pastor, not that intelligent here.
Blacks, 6 Mexicans. I think that it should be a law that you balance out the jury. I think it should be, it's enough people. You can find 6 blacks, 6 Mexicans, 6 white, whatever, or you can get 4.
Again, the question was about how do we resolve some of this racism in America, and he wants to go deeper into more race-based laws and policies by prescribing what the jury should look like. And he's more or less saying this along the lines of black people. I've never heard of another race of people in America advocating for 444, 3333. Only the black people here. And it's only with the justice system. Once they get this rolling, surely they will be demanding it everywhere else, in the Senate, in companies, in Congress, everywhere. They should be overrepresented.
Right. You think just because of the...
I'm talking about the justice system.
I get what you're saying, but you think just because of the way that black folks was treated here in America, you think it becomes unjust for us to then be tried without our peers available?
Well, they keep saying our peers not available. Use the right word. Say color, because a period, they're going to say your peerage was there. They're going to use that. I think there's no justice when you don't put somebody in the shoe of you. What I mean, you don't know what it's like to be hungry if you're not from the hood. You don't know what it's like to cut the lights, your lights cut off.
It's very interesting. He said you don't know what it's like to be hungry if you're not from the hood. I'm sure there are many poor white people that aren't from the hood per se, but they probably have experienced some hungry nights.
So you catch a kid stealing, you never been that. Your mom bills always been paid. Your dad got good job. And so when you see that kid that stole, you're going to say, he stole, he's a thief. Lock him up. But somebody been in the shoes. The Bible said when you judge someone, consider yourself being in that shoe.
So you think a person who's hungry got a right to steal?
Watch it out. He said, when you judge someone, consider yourself. No, I'm not saying the right to steal, but you'll have compassion.
Right.
You'll say, well, maybe he stole because he was hungry.
He ain't greedy. He ain't still to go make no
profit.
He ain't
that should be doing that. Maybe he sold drugs to take care of the family. It's wrong selling drugs. It's wrong doing a lot of things, but we got to get the facts behind the person.
And this is enough of this. The bigger point, what you're seeing is that blacks will degrade a society because, well, they're hungry, so they go out and steal. Hell, I'd much prefer blacks to just beg instead of stealing from me. There are plenty of charities, churches that will give black people food. They have food stamps. Yet this guy is going back on a similar trope. If they're hungry, if they don't have clothes, well, they don't have to rob people for Canada Goose jackets. They can go to the thrift stores, the Goodwill, and find cheap clothing. They probably get it for free if they went in there and truly put on a sad face and say, I have no clothes, things like that. But this guy is more or less prescribing an environment where we have to have sympathy for the criminals that victimize the law-abiding. And then the problem with living around blacks is that when the blacks stole my bikes, I guess the other blacks were justified and said, well, he was hungry. He just needed your bike to sell it to get some food on the table. Or maybe he needed a bike to get to work. There's a million different ways to justify criminality. And you're hearing Karmelo Anthony's father, Karmelo Anthony's pastor, justifying thievery and stealing. He sees no other alternative but brute force taking of someone else's belongings, possessions, or selling drugs in your community if you're trying to make ends meet. Nothing else registers, that he doesn't see any other avenues. And once again, this is how the blacks degrade a community, a neighborhood. In my case, as a landlord, one house at a time. Once again, I am John Galt, the Urban Landlord. Thank you for watching.